Three, two, one, and we're recording. Okay, today I'm with Vishal. Vishal, how are you, my friend?
Very good, Sunny. It's a long time and it's nice to see you again.
Yeah, it has been a long time. I usually start with where did we meet first? I want to say maybe the conference in December 2013. Did you
No, I
attend?
the first time we met was on the meetup you organized
Ah, in Bombay, right. When was that? You remember?
somewhere in 2013.
And now I remember. It was in that beautiful of a hotel called Sofitel. my
Sofitel.
my
Sofitel kind
favorite.
of on the
I'm gonna turn my
complex.
volume up. Hold on. Yeah. Oh, that's much better. Yeah. So I remember that well now because we had just finished the big event in Bangalore and we had flew back, I think, to Bombay. I was living there at the time. And I'm trying to remember. It was like
I remember you had organized a lunch. So you set up a meetup, or you'd organize a lunch with a large table with about, I think, 12, 14 people who were just curious about Bitcoin in general.
yeah. But did we call it Bombay Bitcoin or something like that? Bombay Bitcoin meetup?
Bombay Bitcoin.
We
Bombay
did.
Bitcoin.
Okay.
Yes.
And then that eventually I remember transformed into a meetup at your buddy's restaurant. You remember all that? So
I mean,
much
there was
fun.
a friend of ours, right? Tarun. So he was quite gracious. Like he allowed us to use his restaurant to do the meetups and expanded. And there were like 50, 60 people, 70 people, 80 people showing up. I think the highest we saw was 120 people attending at one time. So I mean,
Just talking about those days makes me so happy. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to capture people's stories. Okay. So we're going to, I guess that's going to be the main focus. Like I know we spent time together, we hung out this, that, but the all-time high thing, I think a lot of YouTube and shows, podcasts are doing a good job of, the charting. Oh, today it's up, but today it's down. But to me, I don't care as much about that. I care more about the people, right? The people that I've met along the way, the people that I've connected with. We've done, whatever business together. Maybe we haven't, but you were one person that I remember that I met really early on. And I remember that conversation now. And you had some like hardcore criticisms towards Bitcoin, right? You were just like, I'm trying to remember what they were. I just remember
I
you were
think
like,
like
oh, I was like, this
everybody
guy's going to
else,
be tough.
I mean, I was interested in the technology part of it, but in terms of valuation, like I said, we're talking 2013. Now in 2021, it's at $50,000, and I think around there was $200 on. And I thought the valuation was just going insane, and people were speculating. So I was always interested in the technology of the blockchain. The valuation did not make sense to me at $200. It still doesn't make sense to me at $50,000. But I guess I guess it was skepticism on my part was more, due to lack of awareness how the blockchain technology works in totality of it. And I think over years, as I've understood things more, done more work, so evolved, and probably feel about, of course, my opinion changed a long time ago because I mean I've done a lot of things with bitcoins and cryptocurrencies and businesses and ideas. Yeah, but it's been an interesting journey.
So that I know you were essentially a successful entrepreneur even before you learned about Bitcoin, right? So I'm interested in, I guess, your story, and that's what I've been doing. I told you I'm on episode almost 100 now, and I'm not everybody is square.
Good job, my friend. I've been watching some of the videos, especially the like Southwick and the people you
Yeah.
I mean, aware of, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, and for me, when I watch your videos, it brings back all the
Oh
memories,
man,
good
shit.
days.
That makes me feel so good. That makes me feel so good. Because I'll be honest, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's like the meetups, right? When you saw me in the events, why?
But I tell you what,
I
you know
don't
what I
know.
like
I
about
don't
this.
know. Huh?
What I like about what you're doing right now
Yeah.
is you're bringing back that. What really got me excited about cryptocurrencies, the community, the camaraderie, the
Mm.
connection, the simple speak. Now I think sometimes it can turn into big business, right? Everybody's talking numbers and valuations and whatnot, all kind of technical things. I sometimes pretend I'm understanding half of it, but even sometimes even I can't grasp some of it. But it's a simple, pure idea that you're going to change the financial world, and this is a tool and it's a means, and you're going to go out there and do a bunch of things, and that energy. Kind of miss that sometimes, but I mean, it is what it is right now.
No, and I loved events. I still love events, but now with this pandemic and COVID and all that, I feel like I can't do that. And so this felt like the nearest thing that I could do while being locked down and connect with people because yeah. Anyways, okay. So some people start with their grandparents, some people start with their first job, some people start with, I don't know, whatever. Where does your story begin? You're like a commodities guy.
No, I was basically in advertising before I got into cryptocurrency. So I mean,
Mm,
running advertising company. where you used
Oh,
to just
sorry, I
get
thought
sales.
diamond was like a big part of your
That's
background or
what
something,
something
your family.
that was my family business, but I was personally into value.
Ah, got it. Sorry. So you were saying, so you were big into your family business in diamonds, and then you were more like focused on the business advertising
So
side of
I think
things.
I like to believe that I was always an outlier with the family. I never really got involved with the family business.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
So I mean, so I think around 2013, 12, in fact, my business kind of took a downturn, and I was any which way in sight looking for new opportunities because the taxi advertising business I was doing, I started a business in 2008, and by 2012, I wasn't doing pretty well. I was doing well, but sales were dropping, and I did not really see a future with any of it. And I was any which way, on the side exploring new opportunities, and I discovered Bitcoin. So for me,
Hmm.
my Bitcoin story began with a friend of mine in America. His
Hmm.
name is Arpita.
Hmm.
So he started posting a lot of these posts about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency and things. He was a school friend. I would keep reading some of his posts, and one time I and him got into an argument. So the argument basically went. I was trying to convince him that some kind of a Ponzi scheme. I was worried about him that maybe he's going to lose a bunch of money. Trying to
Of
pursue
course.
some of this Bitcoin things. But the good thing is he and me pursued arguing maybe for a week on Facebook. So I would put a chat, he would reply back. I would put an argument, he would reply back. So that just kept going back and forth for a week. And by the end of it, I think he did not convince me, but he gave me enough material to really ponder my, natural instinct. That is the in just right off the bat, I was dismissive. I'm like, he's probably gotten involved with some kind of a Ponzi scheme, and this is he's going to end up losing a bunch of money. I was just trying to be that wise guy. I was trying to consult him, but I guess it flipped it around. And now, when I speak with him today, in fact, I had a conversation with him like 3 or 4 days back, and he said I owe him a bottle of whiskey because of him. I, got introduced to bitcoins, and I owe him something.
At least he said a bottle of whiskey, and not one Bitcoin or something like that. Because a lot of people go around saying, "Hey, where's my one Bitcoin?" But anyways, it's
I
been
think
quite a
great.
journey. So advertising, and then this your buddy gets you into it, and so I guess when I met you in Bombay in December, what was it, 13 or no 20? Yeah, was it
I think
December
it's around
2013?
September 2000, because I think right after that we
Oh,
had a global conference, which was in November or December, I believe.
and then you came to Bombay to Bangalore for that.
Yes.
Okay, so we had met
Before
before
that.
that conference. Got it. Yeah. Now I remember because I had moved up to Bombay a couple years prior, or a couple months prior to that, and so interesting. And I'm always looking to connect with Bitcoiners wherever I go around the world. And this is what this show's about too. I'm just like interviewing different people around the world and getting their take on it.
But I'm just happy. For me, it's not an interview. Just talking to you, it just brings back all the good, crypto memories for me. I'm kind of happy just having this
Yeah.
conversation.
So do you remember what it was? You said it was a Ponzi scheme, but do you remember what it was that was your first kind of like real hesitation towards it, aside from the
So
Ponzi
I
scheme?
mean,
What was it about it that you were like, it's a
right up
Ponzi?
upfront, right? You look at things growing up in value exponentially. That's your natural instinct, right? It's something wrong. But I think once I started focusing on the technology side of things, particularly the blockchain,
Mm,
and started understanding how the blockchain functions and the consensus and the decentralization and what it stood for, what it means. It wasn't an overnight education, right? Today you have a lot of material on the internet to understand what blockchain is. I
yeah.
guess back in 2013, what even if you search Google, what could we find? You really had to put in the work in terms of trying to understand the technology, the whole basis of it. So things have changed, but back then I think as I two things, right? The Bitcoin did get my curiosity, so in a progressive manner, I would keep learning something about Bitcoin and blockchain, and I would speak to some technology person here, somebody there, and some friend who's doing something. And I think maybe it took me about 12 months, 14 months, but I started grasping the whole concept of a blockchain, and it blew my mind off. And I'm like, okay, maybe there's something here. I didn't really care about the valuation of the Bitcoin moving forward. But I thought the technology is revolutionary, and there is a use case. If there is a use case, it's going to find some value somewhere down the line. So I think that built conviction for me. From that point, I started accumulating Bitcoins because I started believing in the technology. Because I said, you know what, this is transformative and it's going to have impact for our societies and people. And maybe I need to get on to this. Like, it just made a hell lot of sense.
Yeah. I agree. And so I guess after then you learn about it, you have this hesitation. Then what I'm calling this Bitcoin stories, but my theme is building on Bitcoin, meaning, you know, how you said, okay, you started accumulating it. That's definitely one great way to partake in the economy, obviously. But I've also seen you, and we don't always succeed. Like you've seen me probably fall flat on my face at least 10 times, but we don't always succeed. But just curious, like what did that journey look for you in terms of tinkering along the edges? So now you've got a few 14 months later, you said you have a bit of a grasp of it, but how do you make that dive into something a bit more?
It really comes down to conviction, right? The more you understand, the more convinced you are. So in my case, I realized it after 2013, when it went $1,100, it came back to 200, 210 odd dollars.
Yeah.
There was nothing really happening in 2014, 15. At that point, that phase from 2014 and 15, I think tested most of the people I was speaking with back then, right? I mean, people started losing interest. But I guess in terms of Indian context, I don't know about the world, but even in the world in general, you saw people coming up with projects and ideas, and then we had some of these websites like CoinDesk keep publishing. I mean, I used to love CoinDesk back then. It would focus on innovation and ideas. Now it's more, I feel it's more like a corporate website where you get some top line information, which is, I mean, it's probably useful for a bunch of people. But crypto media back then was also very unadulterated, right? People just publish things and you would, and the good thing is that if something would publish on CoinDesk, the next day you'll be on Skype call with the creator of an idea. So you know that
Mm.
simplicity of connect. Now I think a bunch of people have made a bunch of money and they've really gone very high and it's very difficult to communicate. But what I'm trying to imply is 2014, 15 was testing times, but because a lot of people were doing a lot of interesting work, it made it interesting to connect with these people, have a conversation. And I think there was a sense of openness, right? Anybody who understood blockchain and Bitcoin, you just instantly attracted to them. I mean, you just want to communicate, share ideas, do something. I think that for me, that was very interesting.
Cool. And what also, because I remember you were at one point, I guess, leading the Bitcoin meetup scene, right? Because I was only there for a short period of time, but you were. So how did that scene? Because you know, like I said, most of my lens was through Bangalore because that's where I was living for most of the time. But Bombay being the heart of finance in India and all that, did you start to see more uptake in those years, in those early days? I guess you said 2014, 2015, the energy waned a bit, and I remember there was a lot of scams and really like weird things coming up and gain Bitcoin and Ruja with one coin. There's all these like just epic bad things that happen.
I mean, any other industry, right? There is a new idea and kind of succeeds, and a bunch of pirates are back and walk into the market trying to capitalize on that. That did happen, but on the meetup side, really, for me, it was interesting. So I probably ended up doing about 20, 30 odd meetups in that period. And, you would have a bunch of people. I would typically have a lot of techies show up, a lot of finance guys show up in the meetup. And they were all curious. The tech people were interested because of the blockchain. The finance guy was just simply trying to grasp their mind around. I think now we understand the concept of Bitcoin. Maybe the definition is much more clear. But back in 14, 15, nobody really knew how to define this. Was it a security? Was it a stock? Was it a commodity? So those are the questions that most people grapple with. And other people was just simply trying to understand how they can speculate on Bitcoin, what exchanges can they use? It's a simple,
Mm.
basic questions. But we never really delved into deep technology in any of our meetups, but it's more about top line understanding fundamentals of blockchain and a lot of interesting people. I don't have I've got good friendships from my meetups now.
Is there a meetup scene now, like a big? I guess now nothing is happening in terms of
It's an
meetups, but
event scene, not even a meetup scene, right? Meetup was more ground.
yeah,
Now you got these mega events and big events, and who's showing up, who's not showing up. People are
it's
brand.
different. It's different. We were thinking. I recently I think talked to Amit, who I think that was going to be the other interview I'll release before this one. I was just talking to him, and he did. I think he has globalbitcoinconference.com. So maybe we'll do like a 10-year reunion. We'll make it virtual or
I still
something. I
have
don't
the
know.
pictures of. I still have the pictures on my hard drive.
Yeah. Oh, you have the pictures of the hard drive. Okay. Yeah, we'll create like a Google Doc thing. We're going to share some stuff here. Okay. So then I guess, yeah, just to go through, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time today because we had a difficult time connecting, but we're going to do like maybe a part 2 or something, talk more about recent events. But in terms of your story and what problem you've been solving, I know at one point you were tinkering with search. I thought that was interesting,
Yeah, so I
and
was
some other
working.
ideas.
So the first idea that we launched was searchtrade.com, where we took keywords and we try to attach it to Google, and we said based on Google search, we can how many times a keyword was searched on Google, we could do some kind of a mining process. In fact, last week I just launched a new product. It's called Tag Protocol. There we are grappling with the idea of turning hashtags, Twitter hashtags, into NFTs. So what we simply do is we take the Twitter hashtags, we turn we hash them out, we turn them into an NFT. You can own those NFTs as a unique piece of collectible, and then you're doing something interesting. So based on Twitter performance, you can even mine something called as a tag coin that it's tag protocol, and the native cryptocurrency is tag coin. So it's just gamification of hashtags. And based on performance, you make X or Y amount of tag coins every hour. And so we just launched it last week. We're trying to build a community around it. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, at the core of any idea, crypto or non-crypto, it's a community. And for any project to succeed, the community is the single largest thing that we're going to drive it. Like I said, I'm not promising anything big here, but like I said, we just initiated the work, and we'll see how far we can take it.
That's the beauty of this whole industry, is that you have an idea. You don't have to just sit there and write business plans for 2 years. You can start coding, hire some people, get some people on board, start tinkering, and just take part, right? And take part. But I do think that's it. NFTs are obviously, they've captured the mind share of a lot of people now. And I think there's something there. There's a lot of criticism about it in the Bitcoin space.
Right? The NFTs, since Ethereum was launched, you could have launched NFT back in 2015. So right from the inception of Ethereum, at the heart of it, NFT is just an accounting concept, right? Divisible or non-divisible. But I guess with the DeFi protocols coming into their own, and the smart contracts and the second level, layer 2 services, Infura, the Graph, and all of these services coming into existence, they're enabling a lot of innovation. Because I think back in 2015, we didn't have this infrastructure. But I think particularly in last 2 years, since there's all this DeFi infrastructure and the layer 2 solutions and the middleware in terms of application development, and the libraries have come up, it's really, I think, opening up a Pandora's box. And in my personal opinion, I think in the next 2 years, you're going to see a hell lot of innovation on the smart contract and deployment of different ideas. One of the projects that really grabbed my attention was MakerDAO, right? They've literally created a central bank out of nothing, and it works.
And yeah, I agree. And it's fascinating stuff that in our Bangalore meetups at the Hard Rock Cafe, I think 1 or 2 of them, Vitalik, came in and spoke to the Bitcoin community, and I think even like about Ethereum and whatnot. Because these guys are from Toronto, I was lucky enough to meet Anthony Diorio. In fact, I even interviewed Anthony recently, and to be front row with that. I've been a strong critic, I would say, of Ethereum as well. I felt like they dropped. You probably remember, maybe even back in the day.
But they, right? On the hindsight, I was on the same boat as you, maybe in 2015, because anything that was not Bitcoin, we just didn't, we had a repulsion to it. I think 2015, 16, that was the mindset.
Yeah. I'm still stuck on that kind of. I consider myself a Bitcoin maximalist, a nice Bitcoin maximalist, but I still like Ethereum. I think of, anyways, I won't go into it. Okay, so what's one thing you believe to be true that most others in Bitcoin would disagree with you on?
Oh, that's a very loaded question, right? I mean,
that's my third and final. I know we don't have too much time. That's why I had to hit you with it.
Like I said, I'm still not convinced with the valuations, because I think the valuations are unjustified over the roof. And most people, but I think there's more focus on the price action than the technology side of things. I think in the long term, it's the technology that's resolving the issues, not the price. But of course, every year you have millions of people who discover Bitcoin, and the first thing they do is try and grab some or the other altcoins, crypto. You look at the Doge movement, the Dogecoin, right? It makes no sense.
Maybe, but you know what? It doesn't make sense to you and me, but maybe to some people it does. Like to Elon, how could I hate on someone? Hey, if they want to believe in a dog, dude, go for it. I think it's funny. I think it's hilarious, but free market, baby.
I mean, like I said, I'm not stopping people from trading, speculating, and buying those coins. But
I think I'm just old enough to almost not even get memes. Like for the longest time, I'd be like, memes. What is this meme thing? I'd literally Google like, what is a meme? Because I would see the memes and my head couldn't get wrapped around it. But now I've embraced the memes. The memes are a part of life. They're not going anywhere.
I've got strong opinions about valuations, particularly some of the coins. And I think every time you hit a bull market, you'll see a bunch of these, coins. I don't know.
Of course. I'm definitely, this is why I call the show Bitcoin Stories, because I can appreciate this other kind of toyish stuff on the corner, but for me, ultimately, it's about Bitcoin. Okay, so dude, I'm gonna let you go because, like I said, but we should definitely do a part 2 and do some, I don't know, whatever, jam on some new stuff that's going on, maybe a new project, and really maybe go deep into the India story too, in terms of if you're interested in talking about.
We have a long conversation to cover
Yeah,
because
yeah. So this is a teaser. This is
story
the
of
this will be just the teaser for now, but I think we should.
I think you and me and some of our friends early on, we are in a very good position to really describe the Indian story. Literally seen the evolution in front of
Dude,
our
I've already interviewed Surreal twice. Satvik will be my second time soon. I'm gonna interview Harish. I'm gonna try through this Zoom thing, get everybody, and eventually create like a little mini documentary
I
about it.
think when you're done with all of this, you should probably have a group, conversation
Yeah,
around it sometime. So it's a
that
bit
would be
fun.
fun. That would be fun. Okay, bro. Okay, I'm gonna kill this recording here. But where do people find out about you again? Your Twitter handle?
Vishal _NFT.
Okay, beautiful.